Well, from one bereavement to another, today legendary jazz icon and activist Jonas Gwangwa will be laid to rest. Gwangwa died at the age of 83 earlier on this month, and he will be buried during an official special provincial funeral this morning held in Sophia Town. My colleague, eNCA reporter Khayelihle Khumalo, is there as the country sends off, one of its great legends. And Khaya, you did mention that the program will only be expected to commence from 9 a.m., but what has been happening so far?
Well, certainly, Dumela. So the mourners are indeed trickling in inside here, this particular church. And this is a very historical place in the context of jazz and blues in South Africa. It used to be the epicenter of the genre. And joining us now is, of course, the family spokesperson. That's, of course, Mr. Hewu. So, sir, thank you so much indeed. Obviously, there has been an outpouring of condolences from far and wide. At this point, how is the family feeling, especially since today is a culmination day?
Thank you, Khayelihle, and thank you to your viewers. The family has had a double blow, as the nation will recall that on the 6th of January, we lost Mama Violet Gwangwa, and then 17 days later, on the 23rd, we lost this giant, Dr. Jonas Gwangwa. The family has received love, support, and commiserations from far and wide in the continent and overseas. And they do appreciate the love and support that they've received since the passing of Papa and also the passing of Mama.
And also you've made an appeal to South Africans that they shouldn't flock in this particular church, obviously because given the fact that, you have COVID-19 regulations, but rather there are other platforms that they can make use of to see this send-off.
That is correct, Khayelihle. The family has made a plea to all South Africans because Tate Gwangwa belonged to them. Tate Gwangwa belonged to the continent, belonged to his hordes and legions of supporters all over the world. And because of the restrictions that we have that have been imposed by the National Coronavirus Command Council, it is important that we heed those restrictions. Only 50 people will be allowed inside the church. But all the other hordes of supporters and members of the media and the artistic community, they are free to tune in various media platforms, including the YouTube.
And obviously, such a very rich legacy, not just a jazz maestro, but a cultural activist, somebody whose life was an embodiment of South Africa's struggle as well, very intertwined. As the family, how would you want his legacy to be sustained?
Well, I think, Khayelihle, the context within which this question needs to be answered is to have an understanding that first and foremost you are speaking of a patriarch. This is the head of the Gwangwa family. He's also a member of the ANC. He's also a chief of the Embo Kingdom. So he wore various berets, if I may use that expression. And we need to sustain that legacy through his foundation. He had established a Jonas Gwangwa Foundation before he passed on. So the Board of Trustees needs to carry the torch and ensure that his wishes and aspirations are achieved.
And just before I let you go, so obviously he wowed South Africans and the world with his incredible music and leaving a very indelible mark. How would you want people to make sure that his music really just lives on, to inspire, to be used in the weddings, also to mark the funerals as well?
Well, Khayelihle, you would agree with me that there is no wedding without Homo. Everybody danced to that tune. And I also remember in my own wedding, Papa was present and Mama, and that song was the epicenter of the wedding. But there is such a rich legacy for all occasions in terms of the legacy that he has bequeathed upon us in terms of music. So I would request and appeal to all legions of friends and his supporters all over the world to carry it through. But the Board of Trustees and the family will be having various activities to make sure that his legacy is sustained.
All right, Mr. Hill, thank you so much indeed, sir. And once again, condolences to you and the entire family. And one of the greatest things about South Africa, Dumela, is, we do know how to honor the heroes. You go back to 2010 and Tate Gwangwa got one of the highest orders in South Africa. That was the Order of Ikamanga in gold. And that is reserved for the most outstanding citizens, especially when it comes to arts and culture here in South Africa. So the program is set to start around 9 a.m. Some of his peers are set to come here, the likes of Kefis Semenya, and the Minister of Arts and Culture and Sports, and Natim Teto, is going to deliver the eulogy.
Well, Khayelihle Khumalo, thank you so much for this update. Khaya, just outside the church, which will hold the proceedings of the late Ndate Jonas Gwangwa's funeral.